What I thought we wanted to do was this way, and Sarah helped focus us down to a very narrow vision to where we really got down and got serious about 2 or 3 franchises that we vetted. We chose to buy a gym called Workout Anytime for a couple of reasons. If you understand my wife and I's background, we both played sports collegiately. In fact, are rat gyms. And my wife started out in nursing school. I started out on the operational side in healthcare. And we've always been very involved in healthcare. And to this day, I'm in a gym 6 days a week. So my wife would be upset with me if I didn't tell you she's also in a gym 6 days a week. So, and our boys are too. In fact, that's one of my favorite activities is to go to the gym with my 2 boys. I can't keep up with them quite as well as I did a few years ago, but they're excited, and seeing their optimism in that, is really exciting for me. And I think I'm a big believer that you've got to have a dream, you've got to have a vision. And when our first grandchild was born, my wife reminded me that my grandparents were unable to see our children walk across the stage and graduate from high school. I will not, God forbid that happened to my grandchildren. I want to be there because that's important for me. That's a milestone that I want to be a part of. And so I think we really felt like we really wanted to move into a next chapter of our life, have a little more control over our lives, and we're excited.
I put together a long list of usually 8 to 10 options that I think could fit this profile, and then sit with preferably the business owner and spouse. On occasion, I can't get the spouse to come, but it's really my preference to really dig deeper into some of these things and really try to find out what is motivating the client beyond what the business does. So a lot of people have heard me say many times, I want my clients to think about what the business will do for them and not what the business does. I want you to talk about what else you looked at, but also on this subject, like why a franchise? Why didn't you just go open Mike and Faith's gym? What was it appealing about the franchise system to you?
As Sarah quickly shared, my comfort zone is clearly healthcare. I've worked in it since 1980. And my mentor at Baylor Scott & White really taught me the value of systems and really having that kind of modeling. And so that was what I was looking for. And in fact, I think one of the first things I shared with Sarah was, I'm very comfortable in the therapy world. If you can find anything as far as physical therapy or anything along that, that's where my comfort zone is. And she said, well, Mike, we're going to have to stretch your mind a little bit and get you to think out of that. And so the 3 franchises that we chose to look at, obviously the one we chose, which was Workout Anytime. Another one that we looked at was what I would call a salon entitled Franchisee. And candidly, as much as it surprised me, the process, the system behind their products and what they were doing made a lot of sense to me, and I was very impressed with their onboarding process. My wife and I just talked about it, and just, if you take a look at me, I don't usually spend a lot of time in a salon because I don't get my hair done a whole lot, but that I think we just didn't feel like that was something that, even though the franchise itself, I liked, it just wasn't right for us. And then we actually looked at another one, which was a hair salon. And again, I go to the point I just made. I don't know that that's something that really fits my personality, and it's hard for me to, I guess, get other people to come in and get haircuts if I'm not doing that myself. But in that process, I think what my wife and I learned was that there's a lot more behind the scenes of running a business than just going out and putting a shingle up. And so with Sarah's guidance, I think we really, again, took a concept and narrowed it down to what was best for us. And the franchise we chose, Work at Any Time, on so many levels, met so many of the things that were important to us. My first date with my wife was in a gym. So, it's instilled in us. I've coached my kids all through their sports. So it's just important. And I think if I could capsulize or crystallize for you why I got into healthcare, I wanted to help people. And when I was able to make that morph in my mind that working in a gym is going to help people achieve life objectives, whether it's to lose weight, to feel better about themselves, whatever the case may be, we were going to have the opportunity to do that. And it was a common goal that my wife and I could do. And when our two boys, who we wanted to be active participants since they're going to run the day-to-day operation for us, that's very important to them. So it really took on a life of its own, and we're excited.
So one thing that is very different, or very much, I guess, a learning experience for my clients is the different processes that these franchisors have. So FranNet has an inventory. We have about 150 franchises that have to be vetted by our headquarters. So we don't work with all franchises. We don't work with the names that you think of when you hear a franchise. And as you could hear from what I read on his profile, that security was important to him. So business that had been around for a long time made him feel more comfortable. Workout Anytime has just now expanded to Texas, but has been around and been a franchise for at least 10 years. They've been around for 15 years. So they had longevity and history, which made him feel a little more comfortable. The men's hair salon was similar in that they had been successful in the Missouri area and had maybe 15 franchises, but the founder of that franchise has, I believe, 8 children and a lot of grandchildren, and decided he wanted to be more aggressive in finding franchisees now because he wanted to leave a legacy for his family. So one of the reasons that I had introduced that to Mike was to give him some growth potential, because he said he had wanted to have potentially more than one location and build some assets to be able to enjoy now and then potentially pass down to his kids. So that was giving him an opportunity. Sometimes what happens is when people want brand recognition, and a business that's been around for a long time, there's no territory left. Everybody else has grabbed up all the good territories. So one of the nice things about FranNet is that we work with a lot of those companies that maybe are in a growth mode, and so maybe they have some history and longevity, but are not here in Dallas-Fort Worth. So if you're not afraid to help build a brand, it could be a good opportunity. But that's part of what we have to learn is, hey, how do you feel about potentially bringing something in that nobody's heard of? As far as our process and our weekly calls, part of what I ask from my client is for complete transparency. So it's important to me to understand their motivations, what it is that is important to them, why they're, what they're learning, what they like and they don't like each week when we talk, because I take that information and then I can assess, are we on the right track, or do I need to introduce something else? So is there anything, I guess, that you want to add maybe about those calls and if you found them valuable or not?
I think it kept us on track. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that impressed me was I try really hard not to make assumptions anymore, meaning that I articulate to my 3 children what I want, because I don't want there to be any doubt in their mind, what we want, and that would, I guess, be true of anyone. But my point in that was the 3 franchises that we chose to explore and take a look at. The owners are some key leadership person in each respective franchise had been some type of a collegiate athlete, or in some cases had been an All-American. Well, again, background on our family, my wife was a 2-time All-American in her respective sport in college, played professionally. So, that I think we felt that Sarah was listening to, this is who we are, this is our background, this is our heritage. And I think that was important to us, that when we looked at something, these were folks that had common experiences and we could relate to. So that was important.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, because FranNet has a conference twice a year, so I'll be going in October, and the franchisors come. So that's really, really helpful for me to meet them in person and spend time with them and really get a better understanding of their culture, because culture fit is really huge when it comes to this decision. These arrangements, these agreements, these contracts, if you will, with these franchisors are generally 10 years. And so you are going into a long-term relationship and you want to feel comfortable and confident with the franchisor, but more importantly, you want to be confident in yourself and your ability to succeed. So another key factor is the validation process and making sure that each franchise that my clients are researching, they have conversations with franchisees to get a good understanding of what it's like a day in the life of the owner. So the franchisor, through your due diligence, will tell you this is how it's supposed to be, but the franchisees will tell you exactly, what it's like every day when they wake up. So thankfully we had some open, and Mike was able to go visit and really talk to people in person with that. So was that helpful?
Absolutely. I'm a very visual learner, and so actually being able to go into the gym. So one of the things that I really appreciated and respected about Workout Anytime was that I was given free reign. I was actually able to go into 3 different gyms. In fact, I don't even know if I've shared this with Sarah. There's a franchisee in Chicago. I was in Chicago in business, and I just dropped in. And the manager of that particular gym couldn't have been more gracious. Let me talk about anything I want to talk about, meet employees. And that said a lot to me that this is a good group of people that I'm associating with. And I felt that to be true in the 2 gyms that I took a look at in Texas as well, that very open, ask employees anything you want to do. And I think that transparency was very important to us.
Yeah, so every client's different. They have different levels of things that are important. So ultimately my role is to find those things out so I can do a better job of making that match.
The reason why looking at a business to own 10 years ago didn't make sense was because it was so disconnected for me. To have Sarah here, that if I needed to go sit in her office and say, we need to talk or we need to do this face to face, you're committed to being in this community just like I am. And that's important to me.